happy Monday before the big storm here in New York. Hopefully it's nothing. But you know, every week we bring on different inspiring people doing inspiring things. And this week, this woman is incredible and amazing sitting right next to me, kind of that way. Because she started a foundation in somebody's honor and a scholarship, not a foundation, it's a scholarship. And we're going to get into that because we're helping her raise money for the scholarship. We offer online fundraising to whoever association wants to take part. So we create a little discount code, you share it, and hopefully we raise lots of money. And so far it has started, small orders have started coming in. So I want you to meet Tricia Kress, which we got hooked up because I'm actually doing a fundraiser for the school PS 45 that's right here in Staten Island. And she's friends with Mary and her daughter went there and daughter, right?
My son goes there,
son.
But I also went there too.
Did you?
I did.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's special to you. So we're doing 2 fundraisers right now. And Tricia was like, hey, I want to get in on this to help with what we're doing here at Molloy University. So before I go into the description, I'll read like the award and what it is, but tell everybody what you do, Tricia.
So I am a professor in the Educational Leadership for Diverse Learning Communities doctoral program. I'm also the director of that program. And basically what my job is, I work with teachers and administrators and other educational professionals to teach them how to do research. And the goal is that whatever it is that they produce when they investigate through their research that they work on in my program is meant to improve the lives of young people in schools.
So it's those teachers that are passionate and want to make a change in the world that are like, something's not right in this system. What can I do? So they go back to school to, so what are the ages of your students? Because at first when you told me, the story, I assumed it was somebody younger. So tell like the ages that you teach.
Yeah, so most of our students are, I would say they're early to mid-career professionals, majority of them. They have to at least have been working in their like postmasters for 3 years. So that's a requirement. So they actually have to be in schools or in other places that do educational services. I think our youngest student, which is a real like kind of anomaly, might have been 24 or 25 years old, but that's very unusual. And then we have some students who are a bit on the other end of the spectrum, who might be more 60s or a little later, like towards the end of their career. So some of them, our students fall kind of in the middle. I would say they're in somewhere in the 30 to 40 range, most of them.
Okay. Now, so I'm going to read a little bit I'm going to read the little bio that you sent about the award and the money that you're raising for. And any donations can be made. You don't need to make a bracelet purchase or anything. By all means, we'll get some kind of link up to make a donation, or you can write a check to me and I can write it out. We can figure out a way. You can Venmo me. We can do anything and we can get it over there. The Morris-Aarons Alumni Award is named in honor of Dr. Sandra Morris-Aarons, a Molloy education alum who demonstrated outstanding commitment to research and scholarship in improving education for diverse learners. As an early childhood educator and researcher of why can't I talk tonight? Of early childhood education, Dr. Morris-Aarons' passion was to provide affirming education for populations of students who have historically been marginalized and discriminated. What? Really? Okay, this is what happens when I get up at 5 o'clock. Discriminated against in schools. She used her voice as a social justice researcher and leader to advocate for healthy and empowering schools for diverse learners, especially Black boys starting from early childhood. This award recognizes the outstanding accomplishments of education. What does ed.d mean?
So an Ed.D is an education doctorate. So just like you might hear a PhD, which is a doctor of philosophy, and Ed.D is a doctor of education. Jill Biden is a doctor of education, by the way.
Gotcha. Okay, so the award recognizes these students who walk the legacy of Dr. Morris-Aarons by using their scholarly voices to advocate for the improvement of education for diverse learners. All right. So I mean, that's, this woman is really she's made an impact on you. So how
Yeah.
long was, unfortunately, you will get into the story. You lost her to cancer. The world lost a great woman who was doing a lot of good for the community. Um, how long was she a student, and how did you fall in love with her so quickly?
Well, so she was in the final stage of the program. So she was entering into her fourth year. The way that our program works, the students do 3 years, 3.5 years of coursework, and then they do a dissertation in a year and a half. So she was just finishing that stage of the coursework where she was beginning to design her research. And that's like the last stage you need before being eligible for candidacy as a doctor. And so I worked with her for about 3.5 years. She was the light in her cohort. Um, she was the one who was everyone's cheerleader. And this was her lifelong dream. She always knew growing up that she was going to be a teacher. And
Uh-huh.
then once she became a teacher, she knew she was going to be a doctor. She
Okay.
wanted to do this. She wanted to teach others, but always with the goal of working with young children, especially.
And
So
how old was
she worked with early childhood is like 3 through 6,
Great.
basically.
I'm
So
sorry.
they're
How
little.
old was Dr.
She was 60 years old when she passed. Yeah.
And then she was in school still?
Yeah. Yeah. She was in school still. She
A
had
lesson for us all that's, at 60, you can just keep
and
living your
she
dreams
she
for
had so
to
much
be a doctor.
energy, and vibrancy. She would be right in there, like dancing with her kids, her own grown kids. She was very energetic, very youthful. She had a really youthful spirit, but she was also really gentle, and just had a quiet way about her, that it was like a quiet kind of power, if you will. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
she was a pretty
so
special person.
did you know that she was sick? Did she tell you she was sick, or how'd she share her cancer story?
So so she shared with me in January of 2023. So that was when she was diagnosed, and she just basically said, "Dr. Kress, this I was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm going to be starting treatments, and my doctor wants me to stop my doctoral work." And she said, "And I don't want to, um, but I like maybe I can slow down or whatever." So we slowed her progress in her classwork a little bit, but she was insistent that her research was really important, and that's what she wanted to focus on because that's what kept her going. And she said, "And I want to keep this part of me."
And then so she was diagnosed in January 2023, and,
Mhm.
when
Yeah, and she sadly she passed in May of 2023.
wow. So very, very,
It was
very
very, very fast.
quick.
But even in that, along the way, I would say it was in sometime in March of 2023 that she said to me, the treatments aren't working. But she didn't want to stop her work. She had her research design and even, right at the end, she asked, will you continue for me?
Wow. And have you?
To an extent, I have. So I presented her work in draft form, like in design form, this past fall. I'd say somewhere in October or November. I presented her research at the university, um, and I'm working with a colleague to try to get together a study um, in her school district where she worked, which was in Wyandanch.
So what was she, is there like a way to explain like what she was studying or what she believed? Like, so if
Yeah.
focused on young boys, was it like, okay, if you educate a boy at, 3 to 5 and do this and this and teach them this and love, or like what was it?
So actually, it was it is a really beautiful design. What she wanted to do was learn about what it meant for young children, young boys, Black boys, to see themselves represented in picture books.
Oh, wow.
So it was less of the numbers and things like that, and more of their stories. Working with young children, which a lot of researchers don't do. They don't ask children what they think,
They just assume that they know what it is.
or that children don't have anything to say, or children don't know.
And yeah, children are very smart and have feelings. I'll have to introduce you to our friend Victoria Karnatsky. She is writing an emotional learning A to Z book. So all of the characters um, are every skin type, um, 2 moms, 2 dads, no dad, like every situation. Because as an educator herself for years, now she's retiring, she's building this whole, series so that, you know, children feel represented in the books that they read.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, and that was the whole idea, is that it's really important for children to feel that when they're gaining literacy skills, that they can see children like them.
beautiful. Um, so she passes, and then you decide that you wanna do something in her honor.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it wasn't just me. She had made quite the impression on everyone who knew her. Um, so, we thought of different ways that we could honor her. And I said, it would be really lovely if we can encourage other students and support other students who are passionate like she is, because she, like I said, it was her lifelong goal to do this work. And what better way to continue that legacy than to support other students who share that goal and the same that passion, like she had.
I think that, it's interesting then to ask, when you feel good about somebody, besides, like, what have you learned from her to change in your life? Are there any lessons that you've took from her?
I try to I try to think about um, how can we approach daily life with grace. She was really good at that. I'm
Yeah.
not so good at that. I don't think most people are good at that.
No, no,
She was
no.
really good at it. Being able s- to to embrace the world for all of what it gives you, right? Um, and to still be able to smile every day, even when things weren't good. Um, to still know that there's good in the world and to be able to bring that bit of light and joy every day.
That's beautiful. When you're around people like that, it just really makes you feel good just to be, and unfortunately, some of us don't learn it until something bad happens or you really have a bad, um, you know, yeah, like a slap in the face, like, oh, like a wake up call. Like, how can you change like it sounds like she was probably good. Like, instead of saying like, why is this done to me? If you could just turn it to what can I do with it?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So the people now that you're choosing for the scholarship, what do they have to have? Like, what do you look for when you're giving out the scholarship?
So we've only given one out so far
Okay,
because,
you just
the
started.
award is new. We've just created it. So we actually gave out our first award in December. And really I was not part of the committee that chose, but what the committee expressed in terms of how they selected her was this particular student, she also had a focus on literacy, although she is looking at it in a different way from the point of view of teacher education, things like that. But she approached it with the same sort of depth and sincerity of wanting to learn more about literacy practices and how to educate in order to best support children. She also happened to be in the same cohort with Sandra. And so just her way of being able to connect to her and describe her work from a deep and personal level. um, I think that's kind of what what really spoke to the committee was that, this work for many of our students, it's deeply personal. Like it's passionate. They're passionate, and we can call them social justice educators. They all are, but there's a deeply personal part of it. Um,
I love that. Social
yeah.
just I love that. Social justice educators.
But it also seems a little bit distant, right? Like you don't realize how deeply personal it can be for all of them.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, so that I think is what they look for.
right.
Is that sort of authentic embodiment of that sense of mission and purpose.
So when are you giving out the next one?
So as of right now, our plan is to do it once a year. So it would be in December of next year. As the fund grows, we're really hoping to be able to do it twice a year. So that way we can give one out in December and another one in May. So that's the goal.
Okay.
So right now we're
What's the
planning for
goal?
December, but if this goes really well, and among other things that we're working on, maybe we'll be able to do one sooner than that.
Yeah. So what's your goal? How much do you want to raise?
Oh goodness, I haven't even thought that far ahead. Um, you
Well,
know,
you got you have to put a number out there. You can't just be like, you got to be like, come on, we want to raise $10,000.
in the short term, 10,000 is my goal for us to get to 10,000 is sort of a baseline. Like that's in the short term. I would love for us to be able to in a few years get to a point where it's endowed and then it can start to build its own money. And that's going to be a bit of a ways out, I think, because I think that number is 50,000. But in the short term, 10,000 is what I'm hoping that we can get to.
That's great. So how can people give besides like purchasing a bracelet and getting 15% off and 15% going? How else can they give to the foundation? Or
Sure. So folks can even go directly to the Molloy University website, and there is a link where you can make donations. So there will be. I'm not sure if it's there yet, but there will be a direct link from the giving page to the Morris-Aarons Scholarship Award. Um, current they're working on that. So it might simply be an other at this point, and folks would have to type it in. Uh,
okay.
the link is not there yet, but that's also a possibility to go directly through the Molloy website and into the space where you can make donations and give.
That's beautiful. I think that, that's such a great way to honor her and what you're doing. For a legacy to keep going and for her mission to keep going, and that you're all trying to like accomplish what her dream was. And I think that's really such a beautiful thing to be able to do. As we said before, like, cancer really sucks. And, to be taking away so quickly, to find out in January and May, just um, really terrible. But we have to live each day like it's our last. And I had this conversation with somebody today. Like you can't wait. we're having a little like filming at the end of the month. We've been doing this like try this first events, and we invite women to the table. It's a small, intimate setting, like only, 8 of us, and we videotape it. And like the topic is gonna be like, what dreams have you put off because you're waiting for something, the right moment to happen, right? So so my friend and myself are both, breast cancer survivors, and it's like she's opening up a business, and I'm going to be like, well, was it the breast cancer that finally got you to like open up and be like, yes, I'm going for it? Or was it, what was it that finally gave you that courage and to try to teach other people to not wait for that moment, right? So do you have a dream, Tricia?
So I have a dream. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I I I'm, I live a pretty good life. I feel pretty blessed, you know. I'd like to be able to travel a bit more. But I think, when I think about what I do, right, I've been doing the kind of work that I do for a long time. And it's pretty amazing and special to be able to work with these people who impact so many lives. So for me, while I didn't intend on going into this career as like a dream, it sort of is, like, and that's why I've been doing it for a long time. And that's why I'm here and doing this because, you know, at least in that area of my life, that is kind of the dream. I'd like to be able to do more of this in other spaces, and that's part of the travel too. Like travel for me is not like tourism travel. Like I'd like to travel and do more education kind of stuff and connect to more people and that kind of thing. So, so I think that's kind of the dream is to be able to do what I do and do it in a way that makes life good for other people.
Yeah. All right. It's different probably for you as as an educator, not being around in the classroom where all the teachers are like having such a hard time and they're complaining and they're frustrated. You're around like the creme de la creme, right? Like the people that are like, oh my God, this is the best job ever. I love it. I want to help these kids. And they're still like passionate and alive and hopeful. What changes in education do you wish would happen in the classroom for, say, your son? With nobody's watching this, so like, don't nobody's not your son. Let's pick another school. Okay. What
Um,
changes do you wish happen in the classroom?
I don't I can't say I wish for specific changes per se, but what I hope for all people who have the opportunity to be teachers and to be learners is to be able to do that in a way where they can build relationships and they can feel good and feel like they are part of something and they can be their whole selves because that's when we learn best. And regardless of whether we're early childhood or whether we're adult learners, when we feel connected, we can open ourselves to learning in a way that we can't when we're disconnected. And so that sort of relationship building, that sense of having a sense of togetherness and almost like a community and home kind ofness, you can build that in any classroom at any age. And that's what I wish for teachers and students both.
With all of your research, what are some tips that you think would actually be able to see that change? What are there a couple like things you could simply do that you've seen a difference?
Um, get to know each other, ask questions,
You
have
mean so like the students don't
yeah,
know, like they don't have time to like socialize, or they don't really know how to socialize anymore because we're all like on a phone or stuff like
and
that.
very structured, So I think a lot of relationship time for relationships and relationship building and teachers being able to have genuine conversations with their students about who they are and what they like and what they don't like and being able to tap into those interests and special talents and things like that and that just it comes with just having time and having space and unfortunately I think a lot of schools and this is not anybody's fault necessarily. There are rules in place, right? That say you have to be in X periods for 42 minutes each per day. Um, there, the time for those relationship building, whether it's between teacher and student and student and student, it's often seen as like a sidebar rather than fundamental, right? That the curriculum comes first, but if you don't have those relationships, the curriculum will be last.
Because nobody can learn if they're unhappy.
Exactly. Or if they feel that they don't belong.
And I think that's true in anything in life, right? Like even at work as an adult, if you don't feel like you fit in, you're not going to do well because you're just going to doubt everything you do and you're doing it wrong.
Right. Right. You know, and we I've seen some really great examples of how some school districts are changing and looking towards building positive skills rather than just testing where you see all the things that are wrong and not the things that are right. So I've seen some really nice examples of schools trying to do that differently. So students can build confidence over time rather than feeling like they're torn down over time. You know, because there's a lot of secure insecurity that's built into just the historical ways that we think about education. That you take the test, and if you know you get 20% wrong, and so there's 20% wrong with you in terms of what you know or don't know. Um, but what about the 80% that you did right?
As a person whose daughter was dyslexic and really suffered through school and everything was based on a test, but she had a personality that was unbelievable. Yeah, she could have used a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Because I would always just say to her, I'm like, Kate, you just need to get through school. You don't need to have an A. I'm like, because as soon as you get out, you're gonna do so well in life because you have such a personality and you can like, manage anything. I'm like, and people are drawn to you. I'm like, you're gonna be so successful. You just don't worry about this stuff. And yeah, and she's doing pretty good now. She's out of college, so it's but I think and also parents and mother, you just worry about it, right? So then you just become defensive and
Mhm.
every kind of thing with the teacher is like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, so I'd love to see some of those implementations go on, and I'm very grateful for you and for all your doctorate students learning. So do you ever call yourself, so at school they call you Dr. Kress?
They do. A lot of them call me Dr. Kress, and I tell them you can call me whatever you want. Like at some point, we're probably going to write stuff together, and it's going to be weird if you're still calling me Dr. Kress. But they do. They do call me Dr. Kress, and it's kind of cool to be able to call my students or former students Dr. Morris-Aarons or whomever uh, once they graduate because it's pretty special. Like and it'll never happen again. Like that's as far as you can go with your education.
Did you guys posthumously give her doctorate?
Actually, I gave it to her before she passed. I was able to. It was not easy. It took a lot of work, but I was able to bring it to her before she passed, and her family had a beautiful little ceremony for her. It was um,
Oh,
it was really special. It was um, it was one of those moments that I will probably remember for for the rest of my career. Like that is it's one of the best things I ever did.
yeah. Well, you're making me teary. I just thinking like she got her dream of being a doctorate, an education doctorate. Like, so that was really beautiful that was able to happen.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you, and to all educators, because I can never be the patience to be an educator. Uh, I'd be mean, uh, even though I love doing creative things with kids. So everybody, please help raise money for this great scholarship. Um, Dr. Morris-Aarons. I keep on reversing the names. So I have to like keep looking that I don't do Aarons Morris. Dr. Sandra Morris-Aarons. You can simply go to Molloy University. You can go to their donate page and put a note. You can purchase at ventedinbrooklyn.com, 15%. Use the code. It's going to come up right now. It's Molloy. What did I make it? See, like my memory, really. and use code Molloy 2024, get 15% off, and then 15% is going to be donated back. Let's help Dr. Kress get her $10,000 this year and donate, help somebody with their education fees, because I'm sure, your doctorate is pretty expensive.
It is not a small undertaking. That is true.
So it would be very helpful to the next teacher that is living her life and being a light for others and making a difference, like Dr. Morris-Aarons did. So Tricia, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story. And I hope we get some more donations made in her honor.
Thank you so much, Chrissy, and I appreciate you too. I partnered with Vented because I saw the amazing work that you were doing through other fundraisers, and I'm really happy to be part of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. And if any school or anybody ever wants to partner, we're always open, of course, to helping. I'm a giver. I love giving. I just I just need to win lotto so I can just give millions and millions away. It would make me really happy. So everybody have a good night. Friday, we don't have anybody booked right now, but maybe it'll change. Maybe I'll meet somebody that I'm like, oh my God, you have to come on. But as of now, Dr. Kress is our interview of the week. And so go make a difference. Get your Valentine's Day. Happy Galentine's Day tomorrow. Oh, it's so many things. It's Fat Tuesday. It's Ash Wednesday. So have a great week, everybody. And have a good night, Tricia.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
All right. Hang on 1 second, okay?